Lena woke up early that morning with a strange mix of excitement and calm in her heart. Today was the day she had dreamed about for years, the day she would marry Tom. She had planned everything so carefully, from the color of the flowers to the music that would play as she walked down the aisle. It felt like a fairy tale, and she hoped it would be just like that. The sun shone brightly through her bedroom window, casting warm light on the white lace of her wedding dress that hung neatly on the door. Lena smiled softly as she touched the delicate fabric. The dress was simple but beautiful. It made her feel special. Her mother entered the room quietly and smiled. "Are you ready, dear?" she asked gently. Lena nodded. "Yes, I think so." Her mother helped her with the necklace, then looked at her daughter's face. "You look so happy. Tom is a lucky man." Lena looked away, her cheeks turning pink. "I hope I'm the lucky one," she whispered. After breakfast, Lena's best friend Myra arrived. Myra had been by her side through thick and thin. She was the one who helped Lena stay calm when wedding nerves crept in. Today, Myra was also the maid of honor. "You look amazing," Myra said as she adjusted Lena's veil. "Everyone is going to love you." Lena laughed softly. "I hope Tom likes me." Myra's eyes sparkled. "He does. I've seen the way he looks at you." The small town chapel was just a short walk from Lena's house. When they arrived, the place was already decorated with white flowers and green leaves. The wooden pews were polished and lined with ribbons. The air smelled fresh, filled with the scent of blooming roses. Guests were slowly filling the seats. Some were smiling warmly, others whispered to each other. Everyone seemed happy. Lena felt a little nervous but mostly excited. Tom had been waiting inside, dressed in a sharp suit. He smiled when he saw Lena enter. His eyes looked warm and kind, just as she remembered from the day they met. Lena walked down the aisle slowly, holding a bouquet of white lilies. Her heart beat fast, but her steps were steady. She could hear soft music playing. The world felt quiet except for the sounds around her. As she reached the altar, Tom took her hands gently. "You look beautiful," he said softly. Lena smiled. "You look very handsome." The officiant began to speak, telling a story about love and trust. Lena looked around at the faces of her family and friends. She felt a deep happiness inside. This was the moment she had hoped for. After the ceremony started, Lena's mind wandered for a moment. She remembered how they met at the town library 2 years ago. Tom had dropped a book, and she had helped him pick it up. They talked about their favorite stories and soon found they liked the same things. Slowly, they grew close. Lena thought about all the little moments they had shared, the walks by the river, the quiet dinners, the laughter during rainy days. She felt lucky to have found someone who understood her so well. But just then, something unexpected happened. As she waited for her turn to say her vows, Lena needed a moment to calm herself. She asked Myra if she could step outside for a minute. Myra nodded and gave her a reassuring smile. Lena walked toward the back of the chapel, where a small room was used for storage. She leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. Suddenly, she heard voices. One was Tom's. Curious, Lena stepped closer to the door, careful not to be seen. "I can't believe she's really going through with this," Tom said quietly but with a tone of amusement. "Yeah, it's perfect. The wedding will help the deal," another voice replied. It was Kyle, Tom's friend. Lena's heart stopped. The words were clear, and they hurt more than she expected. What deal? Lena thought, feeling her world start to shake. Tom laughed softly. "She thinks this is love, but I just need this marriage to help my family's business. After the wedding, we'll split. She won't know what hit her." Lena's hand trembled as she leaned harder on the door. She backed away slowly, tears filling her eyes. How could Tom say such things? She had believed in their love with all her heart. Myra found her a few moments later, surprised to see Lena's pale face. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Lena shook her head but kept her tears inside. I have to think." She ran outside to the garden, the warm sun on her face mixing with the cold feeling inside her chest. The flowers looked so bright and alive, but Lena felt like she was fading. She thought about all the plans she had made, all the dreams she had built with Tom. Now, everything felt broken. But in that moment of pain, a small voice inside her whispered something new. "I deserve better," it said. Lena wiped her tears and looked up at the sky. The clouds were moving slowly, and she realized this was not the end. It was the beginning of something different. She took a deep breath and made a decision. She would not run away. She would not let Tom's betrayal destroy her. She would face the wedding again, but this time, on her own terms. After the shock of what she had heard, Lena felt as if the whole world had shifted beneath her feet. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was clearer than ever. She could not let this moment destroy her. She needed a plan. Slowly, she wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. The sunlight touched her face, and she realized she was still in her wedding dress, the dress she had dreamed about wearing. But now, it felt like a costume she didn't want to wear anymore. Lena walked back toward the chapel, careful to keep her face calm. Inside, the music was still playing softly. Guests were beginning to notice her absence and whispering quietly among themselves. Tom was standing near the altar, looking nervous. He glanced at the door, then at his watch. Lena paused at the entrance and took a moment to steady herself. Then, with slow but firm steps, she walked down the aisle again. Whispers floated around her like tiny birds. Where was she? She's late. Is everything okay? But Lena did not answer. She held her head high, and her eyes shone with something new, a quiet strength that no one had seen before. When she reached Tom, he smiled in relief. "Lena, thank God you're here." She smiled back, but it was a small, polite smile, not full of the joy he expected. "Let's continue," the officiant said, trying to keep the ceremony moving. As the ceremony went on, Lena's mind was racing. How could Tom say those things? How could he pretend to love her when he was only thinking about a business deal? She remembered all the times Tom had looked at her with kindness, the moments they had shared laughter and dreams. Was it all just an act? Her heart ached, but she knew she had to be careful. She could not let her emotions ruin this moment. She needed to think clearly. After the ceremony, Lena slipped quietly to the side and found a small corner near the chapel's entrance. Myra followed her quickly, concern written all over her face. "Are you okay?" Myra asked softly. Lena shook her head. "No, I heard Tom talking. He's not the man I thought he was." Myra's eyes widened. "What did you hear?" Lena took a deep breath and told her everything, the conversation about the business deal, the plan to leave her after the wedding. Myra held her hand tightly. "I'm so sorry, Lena. You don't deserve this." Lena nodded. "I know. But I can't just walk away. I want to face this, but on my own terms." Myra smiled bravely. "I'm with you. Whatever you decide, I'll help." Feeling stronger with Myra's support, Lena stood up. She looked around the chapel, noticing the faces of friends and family, all waiting for something they didn't understand yet. This was her moment to show who she really was. Just then, Tom appeared nearby, his smile fading when he saw Lena standing firm. He walked over quickly. "Lena, please let's talk." Lena looked at him calmly. "There's nothing to talk about, Tom. I heard what you said. I won't be part of this lie." Tom's face grew serious. "You don't understand. It's complicated. This business deal, no, I understand perfectly, Lena said, her voice steady. You used me. But I won't let you use this day to hurt me. Tom looked surprised. He was not used to Lena speaking so boldly. Just then, the chapel doors opened, and guests started to move toward the exit, unsure what was happening. Lena took a deep breath and stepped forward. Everyone, she said clearly, I have something to say. The room grew quiet. All eyes were on her. I was ready to marry Tom today, Lena continued. I believed in our love. But I found out that the truth is different. Tom told me this wedding was only for a business deal. That he planned to leave me after today. Gasps filled the room. Tom looked down, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Lena stood tall. I will not start my life with lies. I will not pretend. I am not the woman Tom thinks I am. I am stronger than that. The guests whispered again, some shocked, some sympathetic. Myra stepped beside Lena, holding her hand. She is brave, Myra said softly. Lena's heart beat fast, but she felt calm inside. For the first time, she was telling the truth not just to others, but to herself. Tom took a step forward. Lena, I didn't mean to hurt you. Lena shook her head gently. You already did. But I forgive you not for you, but for me. I'm done with hiding. At that moment, the officiant smiled warmly and said, Lena, you have shown great courage today. Whatever your path is, it will be your own. The guests began to applaud softly, and Lena felt a wave of relief. She had faced her pain and chosen honesty over sorrow. As the crowd slowly started to leave, Lena looked around and saw her family's proud faces, Myra's encouraging smile, and even some new respect in the eyes of Tom's friends. She realized that life was not about perfect weddings or perfect men. It was about truth, courage, and the strength to start again. Lena smiled to herself. This was not the ending she had planned, but it was a new beginning. Outside the chapel, the sun was still shining, and the world felt full of possibility. The moment Lena stepped out of the chapel, a mix of emotions flooded her. Relief, sadness, anger, and confusion all battled inside her heart. The guests had quietly left, leaving the chapel almost empty. The bright sunlight outside felt almost too warm, as if the world itself was trying to comfort her. But inside, she felt cold. Her wedding dress, once a symbol of hope and happiness, now felt heavy and uncomfortable. She touched the soft lace on her shoulder, thinking about how quickly everything had changed. Only an hour ago, she had believed in a future with Tom. Now, she wasn't sure what that future looked like. Myra came out after her, closing the chapel doors gently behind her. Are you sure you're okay? She asked softly. Lena shook her head. No, not really. But I don't want to run away. I want to face this, somehow. Myra smiled with a kind warmth. Whatever you decide, I'll be here. Lena nodded, grateful for Myra's steady support. They walked together toward Lena's car, parked at the edge of the churchyard. Lena slid into the driver's seat, still in her dress, and closed her eyes for a moment. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the steering wheel. The weight of the day's events felt like a heavy stone pressing on her chest. She thought about Tom, his words, his lies. How could someone pretend to love you for so long and then reveal that it was all a plan? Her mind raced through memories of their time together, the laughter, the talks late into the night, the promises she thought were real. It all felt like a dream she wanted to forget. Tears welled up again, but this time, Lena let them fall freely. She cried quietly, alone in the car, the silence around her deep and comforting. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel the hurt she had been holding inside. After a while, she wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. She knew she could not stay there forever, stuck in sadness. She needed to find a way forward. Suddenly, a thought came to her. She could let Tom's betrayal define her, or she could use this moment to become stronger. She could choose to fight for her own happiness not with anger, but with courage and self-respect. Lena looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror. The tears had left soft tracks down her cheeks, but her eyes looked clear and determined. "I won't let this break me," she whispered to herself. Myra knocked gently on the car window. Lena rolled it down and smiled weakly. "What do you want to do now?" Lena thought for a moment. "I want to go back to the chapel. I need to finish this day on my terms." Myra nodded. "I'll be right there with you." Lena started the engine and slowly drove back to the chapel. Her dress rustled softly as she moved. She wasn't sure what she would say or do, but she knew she could not leave without facing Tom and everyone else. As she walked into the chapel again, the room was quiet except for the soft footsteps of a few remaining guests. Lena's heart pounded loudly, but her steps were steady. Tom was standing near the altar, his face unreadable. When he saw Lena enter, his eyes widened in surprise. "Lena," he said, his voice low and unsure. "I didn't expect you back." Lena smiled faintly. "I needed time to think. And now, I'm ready." Tom looked confused. "Ready for what?" "To be honest," Lena said softly, "about everything." She turned to face the guests. "I want to speak my truth." Everyone grew quiet, waiting to hear what she had to say. Lena took a deep breath and began. "I came here today believing in love. I thought Tom and I were building a life together. But I learned that was not true. Tom told me this wedding was only part of a plan I didn't know about." The room held its breath. "But I'm not here to blame or hurt anyone," Lena continued. "I am here to say that I will not accept a life built on lies. I am stronger than that." She looked at Tom, who avoided her gaze. "I am choosing to leave this behind," she said quietly. "Not because I am weak, but because I am brave enough to start over." Tears welled up in her eyes again, but this time, they were tears of hope. Myra stepped forward and wrapped her arm around Lena's shoulders. "We are with you," she said softly. The guests began to applaud gently, some standing to show support. Lena felt a warm feeling inside, a mix of relief and new strength. She had taken the hardest step of all, telling the truth. After the applause died down, Lena turned toward the chapel doors. She took one last look around the room, at the faces of friends and family who had stood by her. Then, with Myra by her side, she walked out into the sunlight. Outside, the breeze was soft, and the sky was clear and blue. Lena took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill her lungs. She realized she was free from lies, free to choose her own path. She smiled, knowing that this was not the end. It was a beginning. The chapel doors had just closed behind Lena and Myra as the guests began to murmur in confusion. Some whispered worriedly, others looked around, trying to understand what was happening. The wedding had been put on hold, and no one knew when it would continue or if it even would. Tom stood near the altar, his face pale and tense. He glanced at his watch again and again, growing more anxious with each passing second. The guests were starting to leave quietly, unsure whether to stay or go. For the first time in days, Tom felt out of control. Suddenly, the chapel doors opened once more. All heads turned to see Lena stepping inside again, this time with a new look in her eyes, calm, confident, and strong. Her wedding dress sparkled softly under the lights, but it was the way she carried herself that caught everyone's attention. She was no longer the nervous bride who had arrived that morning. She was someone who had faced truth and decided to own her story. The room fell silent. Tom's mouth opened slightly in surprise. "Lena? You're back." Lena smiled gently but firmly. "Yes, I'm back. And I'm ready to finish this day on my own terms." Tom swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" Lena took a deep breath. I mean, this wedding was supposed to be about love and honesty. But I've learned that's not what it is for everyone. I won't pretend anymore. The guests exchanged curious looks. Some leaned forward, eager to hear what Lena would say next. The officiant, still standing at the altar, looked at Lena with respect. "Would you like to say a few words?" Lena nodded and stepped forward. Her voice was clear and steady as she spoke. "When I said yes to Tom, I believed in our future together. I thought we were building a life filled with trust and happiness. But that wasn't true." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Today, I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear. I heard Tom say that this wedding was only a part of a plan that didn't include me after the day was over." Gasps and whispers filled the chapel. Lena's eyes scanned the crowd. She saw sympathy in some faces, surprise in others, and a few looked away uncomfortably. "But I'm not here to blame or shame anyone," she continued. "I'm here to say that I deserve better. I deserve someone who loves me for who I am, not for what they can gain." Her voice grew stronger with every word. "So, I am here to end this wedding not with sadness, but with honesty and strength." Tom took a step forward, looking desperate. "Lena, please. It's not like that. I made mistakes, but I love you." Lena shook her head slowly. "Love is not just words, Tom. It's actions. And today, I see the truth." Turning to the guests, Lena said, "Thank you all for being here. I hope you understand why I can't go through with this." A few guests began to clap softly, and soon the applause spread around the room. Myra stood beside Lena, proud and supportive. Lena smiled, feeling a warm sense of relief. The weight she had carried was lifting, and she was finally free to be herself. As the applause faded, Lena took a step back and looked at Tom one last time. "I hope you find what you're really looking for," she said softly. Then, with her head held high, Lena walked down the aisle again. This time, she wasn't a bride walking toward a man who betrayed her. She was a woman walking toward a new beginning. Outside the chapel, the sun was shining brightly. Lena took a deep breath and smiled. She felt the gentle breeze on her face and knew that whatever came next, she was ready. Myra caught up to her and hugged her tightly. "You were amazing," she whispered. Lena laughed softly. "I never knew I had this much courage." Myra smiled. "You had it inside you all along. You just needed to see it." As they walked away from the chapel, Lena felt a strange but wonderful feeling: hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure: she would never settle for less than she deserved. After leaving the chapel, Lena and Myra found a quiet cafe nearby. The day was still bright, but Lena felt the weight of the afternoon pressing on her. She needed to think carefully about what to do next. Sitting at the small table by the window, Lena sipped her tea slowly. Myra watched her quietly, waiting for Lena to speak. "I can't just disappear," Lena said finally. "I can't let Tom think I'm broken or defeated. I want him to know he made a mistake. I want to take back my power." Myra nodded. "So, what do you want to do?" Lena looked out the window, her eyes sharp and focused. "I want to come back to the wedding. But this time, I want to be the one in control." Myra smiled, impressed. "I like that. But how?" Lena took a deep breath. "First, I need to find out more. I need to know everything about this business deal Tom was talking about. If I understand what's really going on, I can plan my next steps." Myra leaned forward. "We can do some research. Maybe talk to people who know about Tom's family business." Lena nodded slowly. "Yes. I also want to show everyone who really has the power here. Not Tom. Me." Her mind raced with ideas. She thought about how Tom had hidden his true intentions, how he had planned to use her. Now, She would turn the tables. Maybe I could hire a lawyer, Lena said, her voice firm. If Tom's family business is in trouble, I could use that. I could protect myself and show him I'm not someone to be fooled. Myra smiled wider. You're not just thinking of revenge. You're thinking smart. Lena smiled back. Yes. It's not about hurting him. It's about standing up for myself. And making sure no one else gets hurt. The two friends spent the next hour making a list. They wrote down names to contact, places to visit, and steps to take. Lena felt more hopeful with every word. She knew this would not be easy. But she also knew she had the strength to face whatever came next. As they left the cafe, Lena's phone buzzed. It was a message from her mother. Are you okay, dear? We love you no matter what. Lena smiled and replied quickly, feeling the warmth of her family behind her. Driving back home, Lena felt a mix of emotions: sadness for what had been lost, but also excitement for what was to come. That night, Lena lay awake, planning quietly. She thought about the future and how she would create a new story for herself. One where she was the hero, not the victim. The morning sun spilled gently through the curtains of Lena's small apartment, waking her with its soft light. After a restless night filled with thoughts and plans, Lena finally felt a quiet calm settle in her heart. Today was the day she would begin her journey to find the truth. With Myra's help, Lena had made a list of people to talk to, places to visit, and questions to ask. She dressed simply but neatly, choosing clothes that made her feel strong and confident. She knew that this was not just about finding answers, it was about reclaiming her own power. Her first stop was the local office of the business where Tom's family had been working for years. Lena had heard rumors that the company was struggling, but no one had spoken openly about the details. As Lena stepped into the office, a receptionist greeted her with a polite smile. Lena introduced herself and explained that she wanted to know more about the company. The receptionist hesitated, but when Lena mentioned she was connected to Tom, the attitude shifted. She agreed to let Lena speak with someone in the management. Soon, Lena was sitting across from a middle-aged man named Mr. Harris. His eyes were kind but cautious. I understand you want to know about the company, he said carefully. It's true we've had some problems lately. Some decisions have caused difficulties, but we're working hard to fix them. Lena nodded, listening closely. Is Tom involved in these decisions? Mr. Harris sighed. Yes, Tom has been part of the leadership. There have been disagreements, and some risky choices. I think he's under a lot of pressure. Lena's mind raced. The business deal Tom had mentioned wasn't just a plan, it was a desperate attempt to save the family company. Thank you, Lena said softly. This helps me understand. Leaving the office, Lena felt a new determination. She now knew that Tom's betrayal wasn't just about her, it was about much more. But it didn't make it any easier to accept. Back at home, Myra was waiting with her laptop and a stack of papers. We found some news articles about the company, Myra said. There are rumors about debts and possible losses. This is serious. Lena looked at the papers carefully. She realized that if Tom's family was in trouble, the wedding had been more than a personal event, it had been a business move to fix problems. But Lena refused to be part of a plan that used her as a pawn. Together, they began to write down a new plan. Lena would speak to a lawyer, learn about her rights, and prepare to protect herself from any future harm. As the day went on, Lena felt a mixture of sadness and strength. She was sad for what could have been, but strong because she was choosing a better path. That evening, Lena stood by her window and looked out at the city lights. She thought about the future, not the one Tom had planned, but the one she would create for herself. She whispered to the night, "This is just the beginning." Days passed quickly, but Lena felt herself growing stronger with every one. She met with a kind lawyer named Mrs. Patel, who listened carefully to her story and promised to help. Lena learned about her rights and how to protect herself from Tom's plans. It was empowering to know she had control over her own future. Meanwhile, Lena and Myra continued to gather information about Tom's family business. They found evidence of poor decisions, secret meetings, and even plans that could cause more harm if left unchecked. Lena realized she was not only fighting for herself but for the truth to be known. One evening, Lena made a decision. The wedding had been a stage for lies and betrayal, but she would turn that stage into a place of truth. She would return to the wedding venue not as a defeated bride, but as a woman with power and a clear voice. She called Myra. "It's time. Let's show everyone who really has the strength." Myra agreed immediately, and they began planning a return that would surprise everyone. On the day of the event's cancellation anniversary, Lena dressed carefully, not in a wedding gown this time, but in a simple, elegant outfit that made her feel confident and free. She carried a folder filled with documents and evidence she had collected. When Lena arrived at the venue, a small crowd had gathered. Some guests had returned out of curiosity, others to show support. Lena stepped forward, calm and ready. Tom was there too, looking nervous and unsure. Lena raised her voice so everyone could hear. "Thank you all for coming again. Today, I want to share the truth." She opened the folder and began to explain what she had discovered: how the business was struggling, how decisions were being made without honesty, and how she had been used as part of a plan. The guests listened quietly, some shocked, others nodding in understanding. Lena's words were strong but fair. "This is not about revenge. It is about justice and respect. I want to show that truth matters." Tom tried to interrupt, but Lena raised her hand gently. "Please, let me finish." When she was done, she looked directly at Tom. "I forgive you for what you did. But I will not let anyone use me again." The crowd applauded warmly. Lena felt a deep peace inside. She had taken back her power and shown everyone her true strength. Later, Myra hugged her tightly. "You did it, Lena." Lena smiled, feeling the sunlight on her face. "Yes. This is my new beginning." As she walked away from the venue, Lena knew she was free not just from Tom, but from fear and doubt. Her future was hers to create, filled with honesty, courage, and hope.